Welcome back to another Warhammer 40K video brought to you by One Mind Syndicate. I am your host, Gershwin, and I'm here with my two co-hosts,
The Sound Alchemist,
Docile Creature.
And today we're going to be talking about plot holes in Warhammer 40K.
Fill them holes
with plot.
Yeah, let's go down the list of what plot holes we have seen through the many years of being part of the Warhammer 40K lore. Or not being part of, but talking about the Warhammer 40K lore. Starting with... I thought you had one.
So I didn't have any. I told you.
Oh, I thought you were ready. You seemed exuberant to provide one.
Nope.
All right. Well, I think the main one here. Well, there's a lot of good ones, but the main one is chaos. Like, chaos is supposed to be empowered by the chaos gods.
Yep.
They're supposed to have no regulations on their science, their culture, if you even want to call it that. And like they could basically do whatever, whenever they need to ensure that they come out on top. And they lose time and time again.
Yeah, the whole concept of chaos is really tricky because it's the immaterium, and that's how Games Workshop gets away with it.
Right, they got endless hordes of demons at their disposal, and yet they can't win.
Well, not only that, but it seems like the lore itself tries to put a timeline on something that's not supposed to be like constricted by the laws of time. So, for example, Slaanesh was born. When? Technically never. He's supposed
Always.
to be.
Always, yeah.
So it's that concept of like, okay, so then, well, when was Nurgle born? And then some people say, oh, it's when the, what was it, the Black
bubonic
Plague?
plague.
There you go. And it's just not true.
Right, because you put the scale of the bubonic plague to the scale of a whole civilization reaching their golden age and having like ecstasy and pleasure and stuff to birth Slaanesh. Like, how does that make sense? There's two completely different, like, just amounts, amounts, that kind of thing. So it's like, it doesn't make sense, but then why does it revolve so much around humanity with the other gods, whereas with Slaanesh it's specifically the Eldar?
Yeah. So the Immaterium itself is just one giant, what is it called? Well, like when you're just telling a story, like that's your go-to, like your scapegoat kind of thing. It might be just a scapegoat.
Yeah, like this person that, like the fall guy and all those.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it seems like just the Immaterium is that. If there's something weird, we'll just say, like, they went into the Immaterium. Drago has been gone for how long?
Forever.
And why or what's going on? The answer is always just like, oh, no, he went into the Immaterium, and we don't know where he's at.
Yeah, because he can come out in different time frames. It's not just, like, pushed to where, like, he'll go into the warp and he'll come out, like, 1,000 days later. Like, he can come out in the past, the future, the present. It's really weird like that.
Yeah.
Which it never really made sense, like with the apotheosis for the Chaos Primarchs. Mm-hmm. Like, if they were always meant to become this, why is there so many, like, well, can they... Like, the whole trying to force Perturabo to become a demon, like, why was that such a difficult thing to attain when it was always meant to be, kind of thing?
Yeah, and I think you talked about a really important part with the Primarchs. Technically, Perturabo always knew, because he had that whole, like... He would look at the Eye of Terror and know that his something bad was going to happen. The Night Haunter, he knew that the Emperor was going to betray him. And the Emperor knew as well. Mm-hmm. And yet it still happened. So it's one of those things of like, well, if you knew that you were going to be on the Golden Throne, why not do something to, like, not have that happen? You know what I mean?
But I think that's just like a storytelling, like, you can't stop fate. Mm-hmm. And they knew that. I don't know. I'm just trying to play the other side, I guess. But like, if these characters know that they can't change their fate, then why would they? Because that's the whole thing with Kurz, right? Like, he knew that's when he was going to die, and like, there was that Sanguinius or whatever. But so they didn't try, like, Kurz didn't try to stop it because he didn't think he could change it.
Right. He let the assassin, end his life, so to speak. But we don't know. It kind of like fades to black in the story.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of interpretation to fill in. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like, the whole concept of, like, fate and chaos, like, you could know that you're going to be interred on the Golden Throne like the Emperor, but everything you're trying to do to stop it was always meant to happen so that it still happens.
Yeah. But how do they know that? Because, like,
you don't. That's the thing.
If the Night Haunter knew, like, if Conrad Kurz knew he was going to have an assassin sent by his father, why not, when he met his father, be like, hey, what's going on? Why am I having these dreams? And same thing with Perturabo of like seeing the Eye of Terror and like knowing that my destiny is to go there. Why? And tell other people about it. And then you mentioned something about Sanguinius too, right? Yeah. So it's one of those things of like, why not communicate? Like something as simple as just telling your dad, "Hey, Dad," or "Hey, leader of this army, why am I having these things? You created me, like, let me know."
I think that's just the thing that all men have.
That's humanity in the Primarchs, I think.
Yeah, it's just that humanity is what's holding them back. Men don't communicate, is what I'm trying to say.
So then the last
we're scared of our
Primarchs-
feelings. We can't show fear to our others, especially our superiors.
So then what you're saying is the lost Primarchs should be women.
Yep.
There you go. This would have all been saved. We would have been living in the golden age of a second golden age, because humanity already had their golden age back before the Primarchs.
Yeah, the Golden Age, the Dark Age.
The Dark Age, yeah. That always confuses me, why the Dark Age is called that when it's like the golden age.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was the Golden Age till this very moment. I thought it was the Dark Age, so today I learned.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to start talking about these plot holes and get angry at each other, when in reality it's Games Workshop that we have to be angry at. Because I do look at you guys when you guys rebuttal this, and it's like, fuck you guys. But no, the reality is, the Games Workshop just created they created a story, and it changed. It had to change to kind of encompass this new like popularity kind of thing.
Not only that, but they have a bunch of different authors all making stories in the same sandbox that might not know all the information.
Right. And not just that, but they basically say, okay, you're writing this novel, make sure you hit plot point A, B, C, and D. You're free to fill in F through G or whatever.
If that's even a thing, right?
How do you all feel about the mother of Primarchs?
I thought it was cool. Like, it doesn't change anything, because obviously the future has already been written as the past was being written as well.
But what it changes for me, because you've been reading the Horus Heresy novels, yeah?
And you've been having it read to you.
Yes, because I'm a wee child. Have you gotten to World Eater or Word Bearer stuff?
A little bit, yeah.
So in the novels,
Spoiler alert! It seems
Spoiler
like we
alert.
should
Spoiler
throw that
alert
out
from
there.
like 10 years ago.
yeah, Argel Tal. It is implied that he releases the Primarchs, but in this new lore, it was the mother Urda, I think her name is, releases the or like jettisons the Primarchs. So they did kind of change the lore.
But then when we
around
look
her.
into a little bit after that, you see Horus, and he's talking to, I believe it's Magnus, or maybe it's Erebus, through like this weird warp dream. They go back in time, and they kind of also start the machinations that split the Primarchs out too. So it's like this amalgamation of different viewpoints, to where no matter who did it or what is doing it to happen, it's going to happen regardless.
Sure, but I'm just saying, like, the invention of this character may have changed the lore. It might not be true. What, she could be lying.
Did it really change the lore? Because I mean, it still had the same outcome, right?
I mean, it still has, like, the person who does actions in the lore does change how the lore is, even if it's the same result. Like, if Gilliman was the great heresy person, like, that would change the lore a lot, even though it had the same result.
I guess so.
I think that sounds like more contradictions than actual like plot holes, though, right? And I think that Games Workshop is riddled with contradictions, just because like you said before, so many writers are changing the thing. Star Child was a thing where like the Emperor had children that were not Primarchs, but they were actual, like, came out of his sperm shit, and then they were supposed to be sacrificed to bring about the rebirth. That was a big plot, completely erased, all because of a writer who kind of did his thing. But I think we're gonna see that a lot. Contradictions, retcons, all that kind of stuff.
Varying power levels, stuff like that.
Yeah, like the stuff that's happening in the most current, like, End of the Death Volume 2. I don't even know that was a thing in 40K.
The what?
The power levels.
Oh.
Yeah, because before it's like, super soldiers fighting against one another, and then the Primarchs are like above super soldiers, and then you have like Horus wielding different dimensions with the power of the warp. Like, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, he's got to stand up to the Emperor somehow, right?
True.
I think it's that whole Dragon Ball Z effect where like
Mm-hmm.
the villains that come up have to be better, but this Goku has to match.
Small tangent. Something that bothered me about the Horus Heresy novels is when two Primarchs fight, they described it like a Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Z. Like there's like flashes of fighting and then they disappear and they just pop up somewhere. Did that bother you?
A little bit. It takes me away from what I imagine in my head because you
Yeah.
look at the cinematic trailers and it's not that.
Yeah, they're actual fighting,
Yeah.
not just like.
When I heard that, because I did, yeah, it's like I picked it up on a YouTube audiobook, but like, I thought that was cool. Because I didn't think of Dragon Ball Z. I thought of the Eldar and how the Eldar like move faster than what a human can perceive, and it just made sense that a Primarch who's this beyond like it's basically a demigod. That's how they would fight. And to the naked eye, it would be like us trying to look at like the sun. It's like all we see is we don't see the actual like. Yeah. So for me, it was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
It does make sense.
I didn't think of Dragon Ball Z though.
Yeah,
It just took me out of it because I
Yeah.
thought of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
and it is badass. Like the
Yeah.
rule of cool, I think, is overcoming what should actually be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also sets a weird precedent because, like, who saw these battles? And, like, if they're moving so fast, like, the fairest man is Fulgrim, like, who noted this down that this happened if nobody can see what's going on?
Remembrancers.
They're humans. They can't see
they're
that shit.
little-
They just
legit humans.
guess.
They're augmented, kind of like with Game of Thrones. The Game of Thrones book, isn't it written by, what are they called? Macers?
Oh yeah, the Maesters are the ones like writing what we're
Oh,
seeing.
Maesters. Yeah.
So that's why some things don't make sense because it's like, oh, this Maester put his own embellishment on it, which is kind of like the story of 40K, how it's being told. It's being told as the Imperium's point of view. That's why there's hiccups, time differences, and stuff like that.
And we can get that towards the end of the video, so that we can keep talking about plot holes. But yes, that's a major thing in 40K, where like I know there's going to be a ton of people that have already commented and said, well, the reality is that like we'll talk about it later. But one thing to take it back, it seems to me that the bringing in Erda, the female, the mother Primarch, was somewhat like harsh for Games Workshop to do, to just like completely change the storyline of like it's the Emperor who created the Primarchs, and I'm like, oh no, but he had help from all these other people. And I wonder if part of the old heads, or even like the new people who think the old heads think this way, is like bringing in like the whole like women into like 40K and making 40K more like, I guess, what would it be, inclusive?
Yeah, because when you look at it, it's all just super soldier
Dudes.
men's.
Yeah.
The Emperor's a man. He created a bunch of sons.
Yeah.
Like, where are the daughters? Where are the women, etc.
So I wonder how much all this frustration for these changes are coming from individuals who feel like that whole inclusivity is like seeping into the 40K universe. So
No, I mean, look on any YouTube comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's people exactly thinking it's just getting shoehorned in.
Yeah.
It's ruining the lore because this got added in.
do you guys think it would have been different instead of Erda, it would be Malkador?
I mean, Malkador has always played a part, but like more of like a counselor, a friend to the Emperor, as opposed to, because Erda was a love interest.
Yeah.
Like, there's no denying that. And you could even say that even though it doesn't imply that they like made the children like having sex, it was their genetics that created these Primarchs.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
So another one is like the whole Emperor only giving miracles to these Sisters of Battle.
Yeah.
It's like, why not just give the miracles to the Space Marines, the Guardsmen? Like, all of them, all of the Imperium could benefit with these miracles.
Yeah, so like the Emperor seems to pick and choose who he gives his blessings to, even though, because we've talked about this before in Greater Wogs and other videos, when in the cinematic trailer for 9th edition, when the Sisters of Battle gets shot by a Necron,
Gauss weapon. It's
Yeah.
supposed to de-atomize them.
and it is, and then she holds on to the Rosarius, and the Rosarius then like it's almost like a blessing. A Rosarius is that. It's a regenerative like piece of technology by
But it's supposed to be a force field. It's supposed to be a force field that protects you from incoming damage. Not like it's supposed to heal you from when you've been damaged.
So it's not a force field. It's supposed to be regenerative. It's supposed to like go into your biology and regenerate. So kind of like in that one movie, what's the one Alien? Oh, Prometheus, where like they put him in like a a tube and then he like regenerates back to like normal. That's what it's for the. If you read the lore of the Reign of Blood, that's what it did to what's his name?
Goj Vandire?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he had it hidden, and like when they were trying to like shoot him, he's like, "No, look, the Emperor's protecting me."
Yeah. So I think that's what, because the shot still goes through.
Right.
So the Gauss weapon went through.
But wouldn't it de-atomize faster than it can heal?
Oh, it didn't.
Because of faith.
Not because of faith, no, because of the actual Rosaria.
So then are the sisters praying to nothing then? Is Saint Celestine being resurrected by faith
we know that
or
answer.
by...
No, we know that answer. Are they praying to nothing? Yes, because that's the imperial truth, right?
Or maybe it is something.
No, the Emperor...
He's coalescing into a god.
Maybe, yeah, but the Emperor did not want to be a god. So, like, technically there is no religion, but there is.
That sums it up perfectly.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad were fighting. I was just enjoying the show.
Which one's mom?
I'll let you guys decide. But isn't the whole point that we don't know for sure if he's a god? Because like he didn't want to be a god, and the imperial truth is a thing. But isn't he kind of ascending to godhood regardless because of the
devotion?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's one of those things of like, well, the Emperor's a dumbass because he's like he's trying to get rid of something that he's going to end up being, and if he is the most powerful psyker in the universe, he should get. What's the one where you can look into the future?
Foresight.
Well, no, but in
Prognostication.
There you go, prognostication. So he should be the best prognosticator, and yet he couldn't fucking prognosticate that shit. That's a plot hole.
I mean, in the newest book, spoilers because this book's been out for like 2 weeks. He is becoming a god, and when he was about to go to fight Horus on his flagship, he literally took up all the psychic energy, and he became a god. But through some talking with his best friends and stuff, he's like, no, I don't need this. And he casts that aside. Because the Emperor was always meant to become the Dark King. And even nowadays, it's rumored that the Emperor is still becoming what he was always meant to be. Kind of like what we were talking about before with the Chaos Gods always being a thing. Yeah. And having a birth. So the Emperor's birth was postponed, and that's maybe what will happen in the future of 40K.
Whoa. If your friends were like, yo, don't become a god yet, chill, would you guys be like, all right, I'll chill?
It depends on how they ask. If they're like, yo, we would miss you. Don't leave. Don't become a god yet.
But they also knew that this god was going to destroy everything.
That does add a little more context.
Yeah, because I think it's Malkador or maybe Pius was talking about. He was like, this is the god that will bring ruin to the warp, ruin to reality. He leaves.
How?
Exactly. That's what we got to find out. Yeah, there's still another book coming.
My God. I would do it. I don't care what you guys say.
It's hard to pass up godhood.
You're about to fight your kid who's been a hooligan, a miscreant. He's causing mischief all across the world, and like you're the only one that could bring him down. You would achieve apotheosis to take him down?
I would bring the kid down even if I wasn't going to become a god. You just like listed a bunch of like basically he's misbehaving. What are you going to do? I'm going to hit him.
There you go. That's what the Emperor is about to do.
Well, he didn't just hit him. He obliterated his soul from existence so that the gods could never bring him back. I don't know if I would go that far. I think that was too much.
You're going to get CPS calling on you.
Yeah. So now that we have these like big plot holes, I think the main thing that YouTubers talk about is how the lore is told through the perspective of the Imperium. So whenever there is retcons, there's gaps in the lore, plot holes, anything like that, it's always said like, well, it's because they're remembrancers, they're inquisitors, they're rogue traders who are telling these stories, and it's through the eyes of humanity, so they're going to change it a little bit. What do you guys feel about that? Because I do agree that makes sense, but is that just a cop-out?
It kind of feels like it, because like the whole irreliable narrator, I think is what it's called, like everything that you've been told might not be true. It can be interesting, but for a story of this scale, I feel like we need some truth and some like known facts, and it does feel kind of cheap where it's like, oh, everything, all the 54 books that you read could not be true.
But I feel like that's the thing. There is truth to them, just how much.
Yeah.
Not the other way where, all of it could be a dream. It's not like, no, this happened, but there's a few little, like, details.
That's true, yeah. It gives that freedom of, like, well, some things might be
because they can always go back and, like, rewrite a story that was, like, glanced over or add more lore to, like Urda, for example. you didn't need Erda to be there, but she adds more, I guess, pizzazz to it.
It is a really good way to fill those holes, though. And a story this big and this expansive with all these factions is a really good way to just kind of a wide brush, just like this is why it's not cohesive completely.
Yeah, it's like a quickie. It's not satisfying, but it gets the job done.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think the one thing, though, is like, as they're writing these books, do you want other books to come out and be like, well, this was the Horus heresy, but this is how it actually happened?
No. I don't have to read another 50 books explaining what actually happened.
Because that is kind of what happened, because we kind of got inklings of like the past of 30K through like the White Dwarfs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Codex, yeah.
Codices, and then they're like, well, here's the novel.
Yeah.
True. And even the novel might not be all that reliable.
Yeah, in my opinion, the Horus heresy, the Siege of Terra, that should just stay the way it is, and just fill in the other gaps of the scouring and stuff like that before we get to the newer stuff, and then you could always go back and kind of add to it.
Yep, I agree.
I concur.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any other plot holes that you guys would like to talk about, comment down in the comment section below. We'll be down there answering all of your guys' suggestions and comments.
We won't, just docile creature.
I'll fill them holes for you.
But yeah, keep on liking, commenting, subscribe. Hit us up on the Patreons, or super thanks would be amazing. And as always, it's been the Sound Alchemist here with
Gersh1.
Docile creature.
and we are out.
Oh, I did the